Da. What's going on, my people? This one's a bit of a weird one still because I don't actually really know what I want to talk about right now. The reason why I say that is because I was supposed to be recording with someone. Didn't quite happen, sort of last minute type thing. Do you get me? So it's like, oh, what do you do? What are you gonna do now? As an alchemist, as an occultist, what are you gonna do? You've got the space. You're gonna do nothing, make it go to waste, could go on, or you set the time aside to record some, see what flows, naturally flows, you get me, energy flows. This is whole point, using the science and putting it into practice is one of those things of it comes from a little bit maybe fake it till you make it. That concept being you practicing occult science, practicing spirituality is fundamentally linked to the strength of your imagination. Which is why you often hear, oh, children are so much more in tune or in touch with the spiritual side of things, and and it's kind of true. So they don't talk because their other senses are still going on into play, and then as they begin to learn speech and whatever, and the spiritual senses begin to dim within the mind, as they learn speech, all a child wants to do is ramp and play, because their imagination is so strong, because that's the engine of activating spirituality within the human condition. And funny enough, you notice it's something that we lose as we grow older. You grow older in this society, in this way the civilization is set up at the moment, through your education system, for your media outlets, for your advertising, all the concepts and the connotations that are interwoven into the way things are advertised to you, the subliminal messages, the neuro-linguistic programming, subconscious programming, teaches you that imagination is childish, it's child's play, you won't ever achieve nothing, holding on to childish things. That's not actually true. The way to unlock, maybe that's the cycle of things, you know. The way to unlock the other side and the next level of things is to rediscover, it's the infinity of things, is to rediscover your true nature, or the nature that is required to vibrate at that particular level. You have to detach yourself from your understanding of yourself as a human being, as the person you see in the mirror, the physical flesh, and begin to understand yourself as the energy signature, as the soul, as a thing that pre-existed the current avatar body that you're possessing. In order to do that, requires you to reignite your imagination. You kind of got to fake it till you make it. It's programming your subconscious mind in something that you wish to establish, because the subconscious mind doesn't differentiate between whether something's true or false. If it says, okay, this is what we're doing, and I am, boom. Do you know what I mean? And it goes to work about bringing it into fruition. So, the whole point of doing that is starting to sow the seeds into your subconscious mind about what you wanna achieve, what you wanna do. Do you know what I mean? What you wanna see. This is the whole manifesting thing. So manifesting is faking it till you make it. It sounded like a bad thing, or something like in Jamaica we call it a bandulu or something. You know what I mean? Where you kind of bend the rules a little bit and you don't really, go around some man trying a thing. And it's ridiculed amongst us psychologically, as if it's something that's substandard, an undesirable trait. In certain capacities, you can understand that. Do you know what I mean? But when you're talking about spirituality, occultism, and universal law, it's a hallmark of our genius, because even in the moments of time and extreme stress, that melanin inside of you is looking for a solution and looking for a way to adapt to its new stimulus, its new environment. And that's how we create things. We create new ways of doing things, but then we are conditioned to perceive it as something less than, something ghetto, something substandard, the hood type thing, which wouldn't be necessarily a bad thing if the connotations of those words and the categories and associations with our mind was of something that would elevate us and give us a sense of pride. But it doesn't really, does it? So we are currently faking it till we make it with this space. Do you know what I mean? Obviously I went down to that little gathering down at Peckham there with that hair shop there, you know what I mean? The man was manhandling one of the earths them. It's good to see he's well organised. Well done to Sace and Russ and them, man. They get me. Forever Family Crew and them things there. I mean, well organised, well structured. Everything running to a particular order. You know, the ones there? No wild bad behaviour, no one acting emotionally where their emotions are surpassing their intelligence. It was good to see, man. It was good to see a unified thing. I feel like the presence alone, I said this before something I posted, the presence alone of Kushites standing up on one accord and lined up to a particular principle, it's because it's the collective consciousness. The collective consciousness vibrating in harmony on a particular objective produces a result, which is what their establishment is shook of. Shook of anyone doing, really. It's the whole Tower of Babel mythology, where they built the Tower of Babel in the Old Testament to try and create a stairway up into heaven. And the Elohim looked down and realised that there's nothing that these men can't accomplish, because they are of one mother tongue, one order, one consciousness, one mind, one understanding on a particular thing. There's nothing that they can't achieve. We confuse their language and disperse them over the earth, you know what I mean? So that communication. You know what's in that story though? The mad thing. Mad, it just comes to me. You know what's in that story? The thing that was used to divide was language. Implied as speech. The spiritual speech isn't words. It's thought form. That's the language. That's the language in the astral world and the spiritual world. It's thoughts. Thoughts are energy and vibration. It manifests itself as something that we call speech in the human condition, in human form. But the root of speech starts in the mind. You must think about something before you speak it. Do you know what I mean? Whether it's consciously or subconsciously flows through, it must be processed in this particular organ here before that vibration is emitted from your throat chakra, which is where Darth is, right here. Because it's opposite the medulla oblongata, which is the highest concentration of neuromelanin in the body, aka called the mouth of God, which I've said before on a couple episodes and whatever. So to confuse, to disperse, to divide, you had to disrupt the vibration. You had to disrupt the words that proceeded from the mouth of God. You know what I mean? So in order to reverse that then, if you're thinking about ascension, in order to reverse that, we must re-establish ourselves under one tongue, the one order, as we say. How do we do that? If the spiritual word is thought form, it must be a unification and a coagulation of consciousness. Do you know what I'm saying? Which requires a key ingredient called the knowledge of self. The knowledge of self is what is required in order to bring about that universal understanding of things. It's the self-governing process that causes unity. So it's not so much that everyone should be acting in a group. It's not a group thing. It's not a we thing. It's a you thing. It's an individual thing, but by everyone looking after their own yard, neighborhood clean type thing. In order to get back to the one must be one. It's like making up beer noise and see I'm just gonna record this. Common effort, just make man know say. Word on the nice day, isn't it, bro? Man has respect same way. What was I saying? In order to return back into the one unity, one must be one. One must know the individual self Because only like can correspond with like, so only one can recognize one. You can't come as two. It's a different vibration, it's a different energy signature. The numbers, arithmetic and anything, they're the energy signatures. Numbers as such don't actually exist. It's just where we've put a costume on that concept in order for our minds to be able to digest it and quantify things. But 1, 2, 3, they are representations of different frequencies and energy signatures. Numbers don't really exist like that. So yeah, you must align and correspond yourself with that particular vibration, that frequency of 1. Nothing. It's good to see the reasons for the response. People are starting to become aware and acutely aware of the importance, the role the woman plays in society being founded upon the family structure. You can't predict, if you can't protect those that bring forth the portals, you can't protect the portals that bring forth your energies through. Kind of no point to anything really. Do you get me? Woman is the greatest thing in existence. Woman is the greatest thing in existence because she is talking from a masculine perspective. You have to understand that now. From a masculine perspective, woman is the greatest thing in existence because she's the other half of the code that I need to incorporate into my own, through understanding, through relationship, through love, through the alchemical marriage, physical marriage, spiritual marriage of masculine and feminine principles, of two polarities reconciling. So from a masculine perspective, the other half of the key to the lock is what should be most valuable if the pursuit is a true knowledge of self and to escape duality, escape the polarity of man and woman, because the creative force wasn't polarized at either end, is the middle point, is therefore and spiritually androgynous. There's a balance of both masculine and feminine principles. That's what these two serpents represent. The union of that. So the other half of the key to get out is the most valuable thing. We must study her, understand her nature in relation to our own, and in how that we might live in harmony with one another. So as men, if you can't protect your woman, your women in your nation, and give them a sense of security that they can rely on you, you know what I mean? Even a seed that's been germinated needs something steadfast to hold on to so it might grow. We are the spine, we are the backbone, as a saw. The middle part, this part here, the ank here, can be substituted for the spine of a saw. Lord of the perfect black, he who is steadfast in the knowledge of self, one who rests in the cusp. Big up Brother Panic, I got that from him. One who rests in the cusp. Lord of the darkness type thing. Because he is before light, he is in the hidden, projecting forth, send forth his son Horus, the light, to carry out his will. Horus is the willpower. And that willpower travels up and down the ladder of Jacob, which is the spinal column, which is the spine of Asar. So without that pillar, the Djed pillar, Djed, D-J-E-D, D-J-E-D. From Djed you get Jedi. The spiritual magicians, the warriors, with the wands, just like lightsabers or the lightsabers. A saber of light is also a wand. So we have to be very serious and very careful about what happens to the women in our community. And that's not just true for Kushites, that's just true for life in general. It's just a universal law, a universal fact. You know, no one's there. So it was good to see that principle being observed. I went down there to more to observe the energy of the day still. Just observe where the consciousness is at, the reasons why, the motivations why, and that will be, you can tell a lot by how people choose to act, not so much what they say, but how they choose to behave themselves when they feel like they're, you know, in their vibe and they're free, they're doing something. You see their true intentions, it will reveal itself if you have the eyes to look. And things to notice. It's a spiritual thing. 100%. It's a new order. New order coming true still. It's interesting that I'm in this moment right now. What do you do when things don't go to plan? I did an episode on that before. I forget what it's called now. Look at that. Basically claiming your godhood, understanding the masculine principle. It's that episode where I talk about, you know, how do you conduct yourself with the understanding that you are GOD, generator, operator, destroyer. You are the three states of energy. You are the master of your own universe. You're the progenitor of the reality that you see. So it requires you to take on a lot more accountability and responsibility for things that most people would say is not your fault, you can't control. I'm not saying there isn't things that aren't out of your control, but you're able to influence and bend reality to your thinking according to power of this imagination. Well, the power of these two things actually in conjunction. Can you get that? I think it's called the Vegas highway, either the artery system or the nervous system between the brain and the heart. Vegas highway, yeah. Imagine, mad. When you think about what Vegas is and what it represents. In the what I mean by that is, you know, the fast life, the attractions, the materialism, continue the gambling, and it's continue locking down into the physical pleasures and fetters of the flesh, of the soul. So they hijack your Vegas highway with your mind and your heart. The gambling, the lust, you know what I mean? My thing. Going off on a tangent again, it happens. Vegas highway. Forgot what I even said about the head and the heart now. No, sorry, yeah, imagination, sorry, yeah. The power of the imagination between those 2 points. You have the power to influence the reality that you're in. If you were only courageous enough to pick up your mantle, to pick up your armor, which is to come into the true knowledge and understanding of yourself by examining who you are in the environment that you're in, and uncovering the why of certain things. Yeah, understanding the root of your nature, your tendencies, the mechanics of your mind, your triggers and all those sort of things, unlocking and unpicking those and understanding what they are, reveals to you parts of you about your true nature, your hidden nature, that you can either choose to enhance or try and transmute. But you first must have awareness in order to be able to do that. So, you know what I mean? This thing is a lonely thing, you know. Spirituality is a lonely thing. So when things don't go your way, there's no one else to really look to other than yourself. There are teachers, there are friends, there are relationships that can help you to get you back in your seat, of course, and support emotionally. But from a spiritual perspective, you have to be the one to dig yourself out of whatever pit or hole you may feel like you are in, according to your own perception of feelings and experiences. Take account. You got to own the space. That's what I'm doing right now. I could have went home, packed up the things. Oh, it didn't work out. Yada yada yada. Are you going to take the opportunity to sow another seed, make something else happen? Because you know what I'm saying? You've taken accountability, responsibility that you have that power. And that's what makes you strong. Is you come into the knowledge and then you have the courage to accept that I now know this thing, and I now have the courage to put it to work, that I might understand its true results, which is your self-revelation piece. But you know, you've taken that step. There's a before and after moment. Taking that step to say, before, this would have been something that dictated my condition and dictated my circumstance. Now you're flipping it around to say, no, I am the one that dictates the circumstance. That dictates how that circumstance impacts me. The impact that it has on me, and how that then informs my next move and next decision. Because you're not making a decision from a position of lack or disbelief in oneself, a lack of confidence. You begin to see the mechanics of how each day plays out differently, to say, okay, there's more things that I can impress upon to influence the results that I'm getting with certain things. And sometimes it takes having knockbacks and things to go unexpectedly to give you the chance and opportunity to go, this is a chance for you to do something differently to how you normally would, because you're now aware of knowledge. Increases your awareness of opportunities to get what you want or to make something happen. Had I not been of a particular mindset, I would have, like I said, just packed up the thing and called it a day, go back to my yard. And who knows what I'd have done and use the time differently. But because I understand, and because this is my passion. This is who I am. This is my calling in doing this stuff. I saw it as an opportunity rather than something that should defeat me. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, I saw it as an opportunity. So that's what I'm trying to get across to you lot. It's just like it starts with the little things that no one sees, you think are insignificant. It starts at these baby steps of being able to do it here, and you exercise and strengthen that mindset and that mind and that willpower. That training in the gym. You have to go through a period of resistance and stress on certain things, in order for something to manifest. And do you have the awareness? He that have eyes, let them see. Who have ears, let them hear. Do you have the awareness, the sensitivity, the acuteness to recognize when there's opportunity to employ your spiritual science, your spiritual magic? Because then it's like, you believe in it or you don't. You're doing this or you're not. It's not a joke thing. It's not something you pick up on a weekend and you go in church or whatever, or mosque or whatever, and then want to carry on the next way and whatever, which isn't really the tenets of those religions either. But you understand the common practice of it in today's society. It's a pick up thing on a weekend or whatever, or at the times that the rituals and whatever said that you're supposed to do something. The collective thought. But when you stand up in front of Goliath, what's going on? What have you trained to actually do outside of what you've been told to do by the group? Where's you? Your own universe, where's you in that power? With the Darth Path, it's like, I'll give you the piece of information, but I'm also then trying to give you the how-to bits, the little bits in between based off my own experience. And I still ain't figured it all out. I'm still going through things and figuring stuff out and doing it, because that's why it's called spiritual science. You're testing hypotheses with different things and you're experimenting. It's a fake it till you make it thing I was saying to you about before. You experiment with things with a sense of, the courage comes from like almost letting go of the ideas or convention, how something is supposed to go, because then you limit where things can go then, because you said so, because it's your mind. And it sounds easy when I'm saying it, but I'm smiling because I'm on the side of having done these things, actually gone and done it and tested it for myself, and then realize, even shocked myself sometimes. It does work, you know. Right, it's true, you know. And sometimes how results will come, you don't expect them to come in the way that they do, but it happens when you keep a record or you just remember. Did you ask for that? You was talking strong about this, and it listened, and it happened. Stop being surprised type thing. That's when you're starting to elevate in them things there. Do you get me? But it starts with the little battles. The little battles. You know what I mean? And then you can do the big ones, and you can do the big stuff. Move the big things. And then, imagine this now. If everyone was working on self to a level where they were able to have mastery over the mechanics of their mind to a certain extent, and then we decided on a particular objective to focus on from a spiritual perspective, what do you think would move? What do you think would move? The earth itself would respond. Remember, say it's light corresponding with light. We're tapping into that electromagnetic frequency via the melanin. The base, that base energy field from which all things derive from. You tap into that to possibilities are endless. That's chaos magic. That's melanin magic. That's what black magic is. That's what black science is. The dark stuff. Yeah. Out of the pot's clay. You know? Yeah, like I said, man, I had no idea where this was rolling to. But we're there, same way. Just letting it flow and making it happen. Maybe we're supposed to roll like this, maybe we're supposed to go like this today, do you get me? Maybe this is a lesson for myself right now. I'm even doing this. It's my opportunity to put my own thing to the test. And here I am actively doing it. Live. Can you have faith in something that you know? Not belief. Belief is okay, but it has its place in the fake it till you make it aspect of things. There's an element of belief in that, but supporting belief has to be faith in the knowledge of a particular thing, and in that gap requires the belief, the gap in that jump. Do you know what I mean? My mind just clearly went to, you know, in the Batman film with Bane, and he's in the pit, and he has to run. He has to run and try and jump over the ledge, but he's still got the rope on. Eventually, he overcomes the ledge by releasing the rope, right, and having that sense of belief and with all the knowledge that he has based on faith. So that faith in himself, and then that gap, to make that gap, there's a point in which you must let go to get into the higher levels. Which is why in the Kabbalah there's Darth, and then there's the crown and Kether. I can't remember if it's Kether, but essentially there's Sephira here at Darth, and you've got the crown chakra here, on the pineal gland is, and then there's the one that sits above, the Ein Sof. Do you know what I mean? There's a gap. The gap and a jump to that higher realm, where you transcend the physical, where you have to let go of the rules of the game in order to operate outside of it, if that makes sense. So that's why belief is important, because it is one of the final filters that one must go through, refinement test, to see, with all of that knowledge, do you have the balance of being able to let go of your intellect and your ego in terms of how much knowledge and power and how much do you understand. That's all well and good, but to operate at the higher level, it's the step further is, can you go from logic to intuition? Can you work from tangible to then being able to infer the mechanics of the intangible? It requires courage, but courage can only come from practice. Practicing, putting it into place, and then you get moments where the gap is, and the times where you're able to get those small successes over those gaps by believing not always having all of the answers. You have answers to a particular point, and then there's an element of trust in the process, as it were, to get to unlock the God thing. It's crazy. It's so difficult to do, because getting to that gap and that ledge is every time on knowledge. Know the ledge. You must know the time. You must know mad thing. You must know the time at which you have approached the ledge of your knowledge, and it's time to jump off and elevate. To have knowledge of self is to know the ledge of self. Crazy. Come on. Yeah, man. That's it, man. That's how I see it. Anyway, that's what comes to me when I think about just when you notice the pattern and the mechanics of how life tends to go out. You try something, and there's peaks and troughs. It's never plain sailing. It's never plain sailing. But I think it's by design. It's not supposed to be, because it's going through that process is where it's the journey, not the destination, isn't it? Because even when I'm thinking about geometry now, how you increase the surface area of something is you begin to oscillate. So if the length of a line, straight line, versus the length of a line that's like that, it was stretched out. It's longer, so there's more time. There's more time spent in that particular span of space and time, filled with more depths of experience and seasoning and filtering. And do you know what I mean? You understand what I'm saying? So that's how I see like why the pattern of life is the way it is. Certain things are just inevitable when we try something here. Because if you can learn to understand and deal with the peaks and troughs, it helps you balance out your thought forms and your concepts by experimenting what works and what doesn't work for you. And then by going through that process, you attain a mastery of thought, a mastery of that concept, where you now can apply it, where it's not swayed or disfigured or brought out of harmony or balance by something like an emotion or something in your ego that causes you to have a poor lack of judgment in a particular scenario, because you haven't been able to remain balanced in execution of thought. Because that's human condition, that's human nature, emotions, and you make mistakes and flaws, and nothing's ever always 100% consistent because we're not machines. The beauty is in being able to reconcile in that chaos, that chaotic nature within ourselves, to produce balance. And it's only when you're able to understand that, when you're able to understand the reason for the parameters of why things go the way they go, why there's parallelity, why there is duality, are you able to then begin to master and control it, or control its effects on you, so you become unaffected by it to a degree that's not of your choosing, if that's making sense. I mean, that's a mad way. I think that's just a convoluted way of saying just controlling your thing for your own balance, for your own type of balance and own preferences. You know what I mean? That's why. I don't know where this stuff comes from. I'll be for real with you sometimes, man. Like, the concepts that come through. It's like I can just see the pattern of things sometimes. Yeah, I just see the pattern of things sometimes, man. It just makes sense to me. Because if you understand certain universal laws of correspondence, law of vibration, law of motion, law of duality, law of polarity, law of gender, all those things, and you test and apply them, and you begin to see, actually, that does line up with this. That actually makes sense. Why? So you begin to have a great deeper appreciation and understanding of the world and how your operation within it plays its part. So you're not ignorant of, you're not just living your life ignorantly. And in certain, not everything will come as a surprise, but you begin to recognize things and see plays before they happen. You're tapping in. You're tapping in with your other senses. And this is the beauty. This is the whole point of knowledge of self. That's what it's about, man. I don't care what path you're following. I don't care what doctrine you pick up. Does it work? Do you even know what to look for? Do you even know what to expect? How you gonna follow something? And you don't know what the expected result is? Just a hope and wish in the sky of something that you've never been taught to imagine or to structure for yourself. So how can anything come into fruition if all is mental? If universe is mental, all is mental. All proceeds from thought. If you haven't even had the time to structure it and think of it for yourself, how can it ever be? Now do you see why religions used to control people? Its original intent was to help structure the mind and the human condition into a form and a vibration and understanding that will allow them to receive the higher mysteries for themselves. This is a self-regulation thing. That was the original point of it. It's been hijacked, it's been corrupted to now control how you think by understanding the mechanics and the science of why or the purpose of religion, and then re-engineering it and remanufacturing it towards your intended result, which technically is alchemy. If you can look at it like that, the transmutation of something to something else. So they're using science on you, on us. I'm gonna keep myself included. And then they keep you away from it by telling you that it's dark and it's demonic or it's pseudoscience or there's no proof for that. We've been taught to devalue our own experiences. We've been taught to devalue our own analysis of something. It has to be validated by something else. What if it's something that's never been thought of before? What if it's something that's never been done before? What if it's a piece of understanding that because of all the prior knowledge, you can't find out where that fits in yet? How are you going to validate something you don't know the existence of? Peer reviewing them things. Do you know what I'm saying? You got to touch back into the intangible, man. You got to be able to jump that gap sometimes with a little bit of belief, founded upon faith, founded upon knowledge of self. To even see that the arena they're in and see the opportunities and the moments where it's time to exercise the spiritual understanding and development that you have of yourself. And that's how you ascend and progress. The reason why this stuff is important, okay, is because understanding who you are within yourself helps. It's the reflection. Our outside behavior is a reflection of what's going on inside. So it's internal, external, not external, internal. You know, we've been conditioned to believe that this external thing is meant to it's not it. It's internal first, and if you're able to cultivate yourself with the knowledge of self, with a certain sense of spiritual understanding, or whatever mechanism you use to be able to get a truer sense of the voice that is inside, the inner essence that gives you life. The voice that you use in your head to read, as I've described it before. That one. Being in tune with that, because that's your higher self. That's where the self-revelation stuff is going to come from. So you have to get in tune and have a proper relationship with you, because you spend the most time with you up here. So you got to, how you gonna have a poor relationship with what going on and then expect external relationships and whatever to what? Supplement that? Help that? And what can't help you with that? That's on you. Ultimately, assistance, guidance, learning from example, reference points, yes, of course. Learning by example, of course, you know what I mean? But ultimately, translating that into results, into bringing forth vision and thought forms that you have for yourself is down to you and the work that you put in. And if everyone's able to do that, then what they reflect externally will be a paradise, will be a heaven, it will be a harmony. And that's what some of the ancient civilizations had. By some of the feats of some of these ancient civilizations, we haven't been able to repeat, or alternatively, the masses have been deflected in one vein or strain of information to keep the higher mechanics away from the masses, so then you can just dictate and control. One-eyed man in the land of the blind is king, right? Either way, whichever way it is, doesn't change the fact that a deeper and truer understanding of ourselves as souls, not just humanity. Like, it takes taking time to observe and look back at our natural behaviour and patterns over time and what we've done with things to help you then draw conclusions on, the true nature of our so-called genius, right, and our brilliance. What is it really? We're on this planet and none of us can behave ourselves. So what do we marvel at about our own nature? Can't even behave in the environment that we're in. Can't even live in harmony with that. We need something like money to regulate how we choose to behave with one another. Look at that. Something that don't mean nothing. It's a medium of exchange. It's not the value of the thing. It's a medium of exchange of value. It's not the value itself. And that's what's been lost. The understanding of value of life, the value of the cycles and the patterns of nature, the value of natural order, the value of a woman's natural nature, and what that contributes to the mixing pot, vice versa with men, and what that contributes. So much we're not seeing, which is why we can't go any further with certain things. There's so much that we're not seeing. There's so much of the spectrum of light that we're not able to perceive yet, and at this particular stage, to see and unlock the thought forms of, right, you know what? If this removes this pain. How comes it didn't? And it always comes through like, right, it seems so simple. I didn't think of that before. That's how you know. Because it just slots in like a piece of block in Tetris, just dum dum. You're like, right, okay, I get it now. Because you've gone through the training and exercise to be able to then see the opportunity where universal law applies, and it governs all that you do. Your politics, your economics, your social programs, your civic programs, everything. Your spiritual understanding should not be separate from your human civilization and function, and that was the trend and the pattern of ancient civilizations that's been lost now. Because religion's over there and finance and politics and it was over there. You see certain elements of it in like the Muslim thing with the Sharia law and Islamic finance and things. Those are hallmarks of what the Moors left in that part of the world for them people to pick up on and understand. It's how you structure yourself. This is how you keep yourself in accordance and in a line. It's all about keeping yourself in accordance, in line, and in harmony. Because when you're able to resonate with higher principle, that's how you get the feedback, the information. Do you know what I mean? By being able to tap in, it's like tuning your radio to a frequency. It's that kind of thing. So you have to have certain practices that condition the psyche to be able to be receptive to different principles and ethoses of thought. More sensitive to heart-led things rather than always leading with this thing. Do you know what I mean? So if you want to fix the fabric of society, we have to fix the fabric of, and it's big fundamental. When you start thinking about changing the law system at large, big fundamental questions, and the answers are difficult and it's complex. If everyone was to observe themselves in the same manner, I am the soul, and what is my soul's relationship with this human condition and what we do? The more of us that are thinking like that and thinking about that, society will be presented with more solutions to things. Do you know what I mean? What's really happened since, in terms of understanding that we are aware of, could be hidden, but we're aware of, like, since Tesla and them man, they were out, what they were doing. Water Russell and them man there, do you get me? Because all they did was take ancient spiritual principles and see ways in how it applied to the physical, mechanical, scientific world. And they were starting to create that synergy and that union between so-called mysticism and spirituality and academic science. But first examining this condition, the inner you, to then be able to reflect more light. You know what I mean? Come on now. Alright, cool. Giving you lot enough. Manners and order every time. Will it balance? Knowledge, power, self-revelation.